let's try this again. I'm trying to do this video. I'm hoping that the signal holds out. It looks like it's strong, so let's try it one more time. As I do my typical intro, hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. This is on Dore. And not so much Dore, but the pro-terrorist left that has been attacking Dore, specifically one quote-unquote journalist, Bauer, who works for Mother Jones. Mother Jones is spitting in her grave if she's watching this from any, high above or under or down below. Now this has gotten into the fact and spiraled into this thing where Dore has actually wrote an apology to Frantini. I may be butchering her name, and I apologize if I am. Francesca Fortini, who intervened into the conversation and then kind of did this, oh, I'm just trying to help you, Jimmy. That nonsense. Fact is, what Dore was saying here was absolutely right, and what these people were intervening were saying was utter nonsense. One person in particular, Bauer, I don't know if he's incompetent or I don't necessarily know if he's corrupt. I don't know which one it is. And by corrupt, I just mean a hack, a shill, somebody who's pushing a war agenda, either Trump deranged or for some other reason, but I don't particularly know because he's saying stuff that is mind-blowingly ridiculous, like stuff that can be corroborated and stuff that is corroborated in mainstream media sources like the New York Times or the Guardian. So let's start. And I'm going to give you a perspective of who this person is so you can kind of get an idea. So I think it starts here. And let me flip to this. Let's see. Let's flip here. Susan Sarandon. Right off the bat, there's some Hillary Clinton shill lunatic who's looking at her just to hate. In which E.B. Bills, journalist, misses the point of Jimmy Dore's tweet completely by replacing American corporate news media with Syrian press. American media, mainstream media, is not the same as independent journalists on the ground in Syria or other war zones. Now, somebody, I don't know who this person is, you retweeted an apologist of Assad regime quoting a notorious Assadist. So Jimmy Dore is an Assadist. Susan, to do after 7 years of ongoing mass slaughter is disgusting. Feel some shame. Feel some shame. He's an Assadist, is he? He's an Assadist. Not wanting your country involved in foreign wars somehow makes you an Assadist. For me to say, hey, I can agree with you that Assad may be a bad guy, but him being a bad guy doesn't necessarily mean I want my tax dollars, or for that matter, my cousin or the military of this country to go and bash and punch some bad guy in the nose. It's not my responsibility. No, I don't want us involved. What does that got to do with Assad? That has nothing to do with Assad. It has everything to do with what I want the military of this country, which is to some degree my responsibility, even if it's just from the standpoint of I am a person in this country and that military is functioning in my name. It has nothing to do with Assad, you stupid idiots. It has everything to do with what you want your military to be doing. The fact is, I don't want us supporting terrorists. And that's what it boils down to. Now, being called an Assadist, Jimmy didn't like this very much. And it comes out to here. So part of the person or part of the people that get involved in this let me see. All right, so right here. An Arab journalist, this is where this lunatic gets in. An Arab journalist criticizes the support for Bashar al-Assad. It wasn't support for Bashar al-Assad. That's the catch. You're a fucking liar. It wasn't support of Bashar al-Assad. And gets a call Al-Qaeda apologist. Yes, because you're essentially supporting terrorists. So yeah. By a left, white dude who knows nothing about Syria. Like the imperialists they oppose, people like Jimmy Dore use the Middle East as a prop to fulfill their view of the world. That is utterly unhinged from reality. That is unhinged from reality. Now, you can take issue with Jimmy Dore calling somebody an Assad apologist or an Al-Qaeda apologist. But we are supporting terrorists in other countries. Specifically, in this particular case, we're talking about Syria. Now, Francesca Fiorentini gets involved in this. Thank you and others for naming this. The pathology on the left of painting the Middle East with the same brush to stick it into imaginary democratic and media Illuminati is utterly delusional and disheartening. I say this as someone who wants to see Dore and others do better. Do you now? Do you now? Why? Why? What business is it of yours if they do better or worse? Why? Why? Why do you care? Why do you care? This phony shit of, oh, I just hope they do better is nonsense. I hate that particular type of engagement of other human beings. If you disagree with something and make your opinion known. None of this phony caring about stuff nonsense. This is utterly absurd. And Jimmy Dore apologized to this asshole. He should not have apologized to her, at least not in the open in this way. He should have sent her apologies because he did go full ballistic. He went ballistic in the email. Here's the thing, though. He probably went ballistic in the email because of this phony, oh, I'm just trying to help nonsense, while at the same token supporting people who are talking about taking down other governments. Dore, I say this as someone who doesn't want to see jihadists take over Syria after the United States and Saudi Arabia decapitate Assad. What in God's fucking name are you talking about? Yeah, that would aggravate me too. Quit attacking anti-war voices and rooting for war, which is exactly what they're doing. This person, who's a TYT contributor, by the way, is on Shane Bauer's website because this is the idiot. That's his own Twitter feed. She's following this lunatic. To give you an idea of who this lunatic is, he's welcoming Dick Cheney and George Bush to the resistance. Yeah, Shane Bauer, the guy who works for Mother Joan, you can see this on Twitter. Dick Cheney and George Bush, welcome to the resistance. Isn't that fucking special? Isn't that special? This guy works for Mother Jones, just so we're clear about this. Let's see more of his stuff. He typically hounds Tulsi Gabbard because Tulsi Gabbard said that we're forming terrorists in Syria and we're essentially trying to take down Assad and everything else. Now, in Twitter stalking her, look at this. Gabbard speaks about our regime change wars. The fact is the CIA was involved for years in trying to overthrow Assad. There aren't anymore. The CIA program ended in 2017. Even before it ended, funding was conditional on not offensively attacking the Syrian government. Is he stupid or he's corrupt? Which one is it? I don't know. I don't know. Is Shane Bauer stupid or is he corrupt? Look at this. Same person. Right here. I want you to see both. Now, New York Times. Behind the sudden death of a $1 billion secret CIA war in Syria. Maybe he doesn't read. I don't know. This guy writes books, by the way. This guy writes books. The end came quickly for one of the costliest covert action programs in the history of the CIA. During the White House briefing early last month, CIA Director Mike Pompeo recommended to President Trump that he shut down a 4-year program to arm and train Syrian rebels. The president swiftly ended the program. The rebel army was by then a shell hollowed out by more of a year bombing from Russian planes confined to the ever-shrinking patches of Syria that government troops had not reconquered. Critics of the Congress had complained for years about the cost, more than $1 billion over the life of the program. The reports some of the CIA-supplied weapons ended up in the hands of rebel groups tied to al-Qaeda further sapped the political support for the program. They were rebels. Rebels to who? Who do you think that these guys being called rebels were attacking? Now, under Shane Bauer's argument, the only people that they were attacking were ISIS. This was conditioned, according to him, conditioned on not offensively attacking the Syrian government. All right? Here's another one, The Guardian. Look at this one. The war on terror, the campaign without end, launched 14 years ago by George Bush, is tying itself up in ever more grotesque contortions. On Monday night, the trial in London of a Swedish man, Biller Gildo, accused of terrorism in Syria, collapsed after it became clear that the British intelligence had been arming the same rebel groups the defendant was charged with supporting. The prosecution abandoned the case, apparently to avoid embarrassing the intelligence services. The defense argued that going ahead with the trial would have been an affront to justice when there was plenty of evidence that the British state itself was providing extensive support to armed Syrian opposition. That didn't only include non-lethal assistance boasted by the government, including body armor and military vehicles, but training, logistical support, and secret weapons or supply of arms on a massive scale. Reports were cited that MI6 had cooperated with the CIA on a rat line that arms transferred from Libyan stockpiles to the Syrian rebels in 2012 after the fall of the Gaddafi regime, arming rebels to take down Assad. We were arming opposition forces. Now, we keep calling them rebels. I use the term terrorists because I'm saying that, for all intents and purposes, if you're arming groups to take down the government, then you're arming terrorists. By definition, the term is relative. Look at this. Middle East shuttle. The United States media and think tanks obfuscate this fact. Let's go right here. Let's start at the top. At first glance, all right, we can start here. But the tension is nonetheless palpable in the new government-controlled city. A few weeks ago, Russia broke reconciliation talks in southern Syria fell apart when Western-backed militants rejected a negotiated peace. Whether there will now be a full-on battle in the south or not, visits last week to Syria 3-7 governors Dore, Kantera, and Sudwaya revealed a startling possibility. Al-Qaeda's Syrian franchise, the Nusra Front, appears to be deeply entrenched alongside these United States-backed militants in key strategic towns and villages scattered throughout the south. U.S. media and think tanks obfuscates this fact by referring to all opposition fighters as rebels or moderates. Take a look at the map, and you'll only see 3 colors: red for the Syrian army and its allies, green for opposition forces, black for ISIS. So then, where's the Nusra Front? Long considered by Western pundits to be one of the most potent fighting forces against the SAA, have they simply and conveniently been erased from the battle map? Discussions with Syrian military experts, analysts, and opposition fighters during my trip revealed that Nusra is live and kicking in the south battlefields. The map below specifically identifies areas in the south controlled by Nusra, but there are many more locations that do not appear where Nusra is present and shares power with other militants. Despite its United States and UN designation as a terrorist organization, Nusra has been openly fighting alongside the Southern Front, a group of 54 opposition militias funded and commanded by the United States-led war room based in Amman, Jordan, called the Military Operations Center. Specifics about the MOC aren't easy to come by, but sources inside Syria, both opposition fighters and Syrian military brass, past and present, suggest that the command center consists of the United States and UK, France, Jordan, Israel, and some Persian Gulf states. They say that the MOC supplies funds, weapons, salaries, intel, and training to the 54 militias, many of which consist of a mere 200 or so fighters that are further broken down into smaller groups, some only a few dozen strong. The SAA General Ahmad al-Isa, commander for the front line of Dore, said the MOC is a U.S.-led operations that controls the movements of Southern Front terrorists and is highly influenced by Israel's strategic goals in the south of Syria, one of which is to seize control of its border areas to create a buffer inside Syrian territories. How does he know this? Issa says his information comes from a cross-section of sources, including reconciled captured militants and intel from the MOC itself. The general cites MOC's own rulebook for militants as an example of Israel's centricity. 1. Never threaten or approach Israel border in any way. 2. Protect the border with Israel-occupied Golan Heights. Look, the point I want to make here, and the only point I'm trying to make here, is the idea that the United States was not funding militants that were attacking the Syrian government is lunacy. I have no idea why anybody would believe that. And yet, this is what he pushes. And Jimmy Dore strongly making this point of saying, we should not be doing this, we should not be supporting terrorists and taking down governments. He gets smeared as an Assadist. And a TYT contributor comes on to help the people who are smearing him. That's amazing. He shouldn't have flipped out. Don't misunderstand me. He sent her some really bad stuff in a text message or in an email or Twitter. But everything that he was saying here was right. The wild part is, I've invited pro-terrorist, what's his name, Sean Bear, onto the show. Never gotten a response to that. I don't expect to get a response. People who support terrorists don't necessarily like to defend their views beyond Twitter. And Jimmy Dore invited Francesca onto the show, to which, again, another pro-terrorist person declined. Now, to be fair, he flipped out, and I would be less inclined to take him up on an offer to drink. Also, if he flipped out on me in that way. But I don't know if the flip out became before or after the coffee offer. Either way, Dore has been getting a lot of flack. And yet, it's as if the people who give him flack just don't read the media. Even mainstream media, apparently. Even mainstream media. The pro-war left. Isn't it awesome? Isn't it awesome? Let's see. Oh my God, I just went to Jimmy Dore's Twitter, and yeah, he apologized. He should not have apologized to Bauer. Honestly, I would have apologized to Francesca, because he flipped out. If you see the private text messages, it was bad. It was bad. She posted them publicly. That's the other part. So she outed the text messages publicly. He said he didn't necessarily expect those text messages to be true. But I gotta be honest, it was still somewhat over the top. Still over the top. But that said, I understand why he was aggravated. It's a sleazy way of arguing to be like, well, I just want you to be better. Don't want anything from me. How about that? Don't want anything from me. Just make your fucking point and move on. Just make your point and move on. He only apologized for the what thing? The front thing? I don't know what the front thing is. Yeah, we tried to use this in Iraq. How did that work out? The wild part about it is these guys seem to be pro-terrorists. I don't know how you argue with what Jimmy is saying and make the point that you're not pro-terrorist. I don't know how you make that point. That's the main point that Jimmy Dore is making. We shouldn't be in those countries. We shouldn't be fighting these wars, nor should we be funding terrorists. And Bauer, who would admit, yes, CIA was having operations, but only to fight ISIS. Only to fight ISIS. Jimmy Dore, by the way, went item by item by item, showing multiple people making the point that many of the governments in the region wanted Bashar al-Assad out. And yet, again, nothing. I invite any pro-terrorist person onto the show to make their point. Whether that's Francesca, whether that's Bauer. I don't know if he's stupid or incompetent, or you can say incompetent or corrupt. I don't know which one it is. He is more than free to come onto the show and make his point. He would never take me up on that. He would never take me up on that. For that matter, he would never take Dore up on that. And I strongly suspect that Francesca, given the opportunity, would also never take Dore up on that. Yeah. Just saying. The New York Times acknowledges. The Guardian acknowledges. The Guardian even goes so far as to go into the shadow wars. The wars, New York Times wrote that article, the shadow wars, our operations in Somalia and some of these other countries of Africa. We use this playbook, multiple parts around the world, South America, Iran, it's mind-blowing to me that these people consider themselves on the left and taking this position that we should be involved in these conflicts, that we should be supporting terrorists in these conflicts. I find it to be utterly amazing. Yeah, she was condescending as fuck. That Francesca person deliberately tried to wind Jimmy up. Yeah, she did. She did. I contacted Dore about this, and I asked him if he wanted to come on to discuss it. So at some point, we're going to get together and talk about it. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying that. But yeah, Francesca was extraordinarily condescending in that. And I got to be honest, that would have annoyed the shit out of me too. It would have annoyed the hell out of me. I would love to have Noam Chomsky on the show. I invited him. He never came on. Is she from MTV? No, she's from Al Jazeera. She's from Al Jazeera. Iran hit U.S.-backed terrorists in southeast Syria with missiles this morning. Did they now? You know, even saying that, doesn't that suck? Iran hit United States-backed terrorists in southeast Syria. I'm saying it sucks. Yeah, she takes money from Qatar. At least her company does. But she, you know, she chafes at that. Oh, just because I'm working for Qatar doesn't necessarily mean I'm controlled. Yeah, he did reply to my emails. He did. And here's the thing. It's hard to throw stones on that one because Jimmy Dore has done work for RT. It's like, does that mean he's working for the Russian government? I would say this. I don't really care who she works for. I mean, ultimately, I don't want my country involved in supporting terrorists throughout the globe. Full stop. Full stop. Full fucking stop. Do you think backing a second referendum would be electoral oblivion for labor? Oh man, I don't know. I'm against the second referendum, personally. You had a vote. Get on with it. Get on with it. It's a problem if you can't see your own bias. Kalita, no, that is true. That is true. Look, my bias is I don't want us involved in these conflicts. That's my bias. That's my bias. Francesca fits perfectly at TYT. Oh yeah, I know. Cenk Uygur talking about Nerf bombs. Yeah. All right, I'm going to end this. I am glad Jimmy Dore turned down the show on RT so he could tour more. Stephen Call. I did not know that. Seriously. Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. I think I would have taken that spot. I mean, only because doing the show, you're always in a position where, like, you're always vulnerable to some degree. Like, anything can happen where you're just this kind of you know, like Twitter or YouTube shuts your channel down. Like, it's one of those type of things. Having a show allows a certain degree of stability so you can do your show any way you want. Meaning, this show is mine, I can do it any way I want. If YouTube shuts it down, if I had something else, then it wouldn't necessarily be dependent purely on the show, and I could pretty much put a show anywhere and people could find it. It takes a headache off, that's all. All right, I'm going to end this because I have additional stuff that I want to talk about today, including a report from Chomsky and Varoufakis. This is essentially some big names are joining, going after The Guardian for its nonsense printing, or the media is printing in the UK attacking Corbyn for anti-Semitism. Anthony Reyes, thanks JT, your man Brian Williams. Thank you, man. You're my Brian Williams. Oh, that's I just got that. You're my Brian Williams. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Many on the right feel the same about the regime change. Yeah, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved. Look, all of these, you know, this chess that needs to be played. It's like, okay, we'll support this group because this is our group. But we don't like that group. And so we want to use this group to attack that group. And somebody kind of makes the point in one of the articles, some of the people who were there, like, you know, the weapons get handed over. Well, that's a consequence. And if you're supporting this, I mean, this is not just Dore. The reporting on this has been pretty consistent, that we've been involved in the conflict. What was it? The Independent showing that the weapons went beyond how would I find it? I've done multiple videos on this, though, that the weapons ending up in the hands of ISIS went far beyond just that could have been accidentally handed over on the battlefield. I mean, it becomes clear, the evidence is pretty clear, that we have been involved in supporting terrorists to try to take down the other government. Libya and Iraq were literally in earshot. But Sean Bearer, yeah, he totally has his finger on the pulse of this, failing his audience, one shitty article at a time. All right, I'm going to end this. I always got shocked out of immersion when Anna snorted. Those snorts do not match that Oh, God. God, that's funny. Shane, military shitface. That guy works for Mother Jones. That guy is pro-terrorist and works for Mother Jones. You know, the wild part about it, when I hear people, oh, Assad has been murdering all these people. And it's like, but you understand that if we weren't funding terrorists in that country, that war might have been over with long ago. It's one thing if there's some kind of conflict that takes place from a civil war naturally because people hate the government. Fair enough. It's another thing if we're funding groups that assist in that and spurs it on. That's different. I don't want to be involved in that process. Period. The idea of attacking Dore as pro-Assad just because he's making the argument, I don't want to be involved in that process, is fucking lunacy. It's utter lunacy. It's nonsense on steroids. It's nonsense on steroids. All right, I'm going to end this because at this point it's just going to be me bitching. You guys can look at it and see it for yourself. Jimmy Dore issued an apology for flipping out. I may cover that particular one. In fact, I will cover that one next. I don't think he should apologize, but it's just me. At least not overtly like this. He has people who dislike him, and because he has people who dislike him, they're going to use that apology to hit him over the head with. It's one thing to be sincere. Hey, I'm sorry for going over the top, but this was kind of long form apology of just kind of, oh, I'm sorry for doing this and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I disagree, but whatever. In the moment, I would imagine he probably felt he needed to do it. And look, good on him for doing it. I mean, he did flip out. But this is one of those things where I don't agree with the flipping out, but I understand why. I do understand why. I greatly dislike that phony, oh, I'm just trying to help you, man. I'm just trying to help you be better, man. I hate that shit too. So it would have annoyed the hell out of me too. All right, I'm going to end this. I am thankful that the internet held up because earlier today, man, I was having a hard time trying to get on. I'll see you guys shortly. Thanks all. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. Thanks, everyone.